One-sided relationship, intelligent ways to deal with it. Hi friends, welcome to Marriage Realities, a comprehensive relationship channel. This video is all about the overwhelming dejection you feel when you're living through a one-sided relationship. One-sided relationship makes you feel emotionally shattered, as it is always you who must contribute to make your marriage work. And what does a one-sided relationship actually mean to you? You're the only one to apologize after an argument. You're the only one accountable when there's a family issue. Your spouse never bothers to look after your children as if they were your sole responsibility. You're always accused as a culprit behind any relationship problems you face in your married life. When there is a financial problem, your spouse never feels it is his or her duty to share it with you. When you face these sorts of overwhelmingly sole responsibilities in your relationship, you feel lonely and alone. When you must solely manage your family issues, solely make adjustments to make your marriage work, and solely bear responsibilities, it clearly means you're in a one-sided relationship. Living through such a one-sided relationship is very tough for you, isn't it? When you're the only one who contributes toward making your marriage stable without any support from your spouse, you're unlucky to be in a one-sided relationship. One-sided relationship brings many more agonies into your married life. When your spouse does not give you moral support, you feel emotionally drained and frustrated. You're so resentful against the uncaring attitude of your spouse that you feel you're being taken for granted. The continued thrusting of family responsibilities on you makes you want to confront your spouse about the one-sidedness of it, isn't it? What exactly should you do to handle this rather emotionally overwhelming situation? Should you overlook the one-sidedness of your relationship? No. Should you confront your spouse about it? No. Both ways, it is wrong. If you confront your spouse about it, it develops into an unpleasant fight between you. Both blame each other as the culprit behind the one-sidedness of your relationship. But you should not avoid talking about it to your spouse. Unless you talk, your spouse will never know about your feelings. You cannot let your spouse get away from his or her responsibilities that easily. There are times you want to yell at your spouse for his or her negligence about his or her family duties. Though your anger is justified, do not be directly accusing your spouse, as it creates a lot of unwanted ugly scenes between you. There are chances your spouse might mentally withdraw away from you. Here are 5 intelligent ways to deal with your one-sided relationship. The number 1 intelligent way to deal with your one-sided relationship is no direct accusing. You should not avoid discussing the one-sidedness of your relationship with your spouse. You have every reason to feel overwhelmed by the way your spouse withdraws from family duties. But you must withhold talking with your spouse about your feelings when your emotions are raw. When you talk with your spouse when you're seething with anger, you become very accusing and blaming. You'll become bitterly criticizing instead of being focused on pointing out the aspects which makes you feel that you're in a one-sided relationship. When you're accusing, it will make your spouse go on the defensive. Your spouse will deliberately display a stonewall reaction, that is, he or she never reacts to any of your accusations. You might as well be talking to a wall. The intelligent way to make your spouse understand your point of view is to observe whether he or she is in a mood to listen. When your spouse is in a foul mood, it is better to postpone your discussion, as you will not get anything out of it. Do not start your conversation by listing out your accusations. This will immediately make your spouse go into his or her shell. Make your emotions felt through your reasonable explanations. Your spouse might try to make you the culprit behind the one-sidedness of your relationship. But you must be firm to point out the mistakes of your spouse. You should not let your spouse get away from family responsibilities. You must make your spouse understand that he or she is duty-bound towards the family. The number 2 intelligent way to deal with the one-sided relationship is to make your spouse accountable. Family issues can be taxing and overwhelming, and you never know when family issues will crop up. It might be an unexpected need for money. You might face problems regarding your children or in-laws. Whatever might be your family issue, it does not concern you alone. Your spouse is equally responsible towards solving it. When your spouse withdraws from shouldering family issues, you become physically and mentally exhausted. Unless your spouse supports you, you will definitely chip under the pressure of handling all your family issues alone. So, you must definitely point out the accountability of your spouse towards family issues when he or she tries to withdraw away from it. The number 3 intelligent way to deal with one-sidedness in financial dealings of your family. The financial commitments of your family are never one-sided. It is always mutual. Allocating money for the family is one of the most argumentative issues in your married life. You're enraged when your spouse never shares your family's financial commitments equally with you. When your spouse feels that you're the only one accountable to meet out all the financial requirements of your family, you feel that he or she is fleecing you of your hard-earned money. You should never let your spouse get away from sharing your family's financial commitments. Your spouse is equally accountable towards the financial needs of your family. You should discuss with your spouse about the allocation of money so that you do not feel fleeced by him or her. The number 4 intelligent way to deal with one-sidedness in emotions. You cannot always be the one to make up after your argument with your spouse. If your spouse was wrong, he or she is morally obliged to apologize to you. When you're feeling emotionally drained and mentally exhausted, it is the duty of your spouse to give you moral support. You cannot always be the one to be loving. You cannot always be the one to be supporting. You cannot always be the one to be sharing. You cannot always be the one to be responsible. You cannot always be the one to be communicating. Marriage is a two-way path. Unless your spouse reciprocates empathetically to your emotions, you feel unloved, used, and neglected in your relationship. You should definitely make your spouse understand that he or she cannot take you for granted. The number 5 intelligent way to deal with one-sided interaction. When you're living through a one-sided relationship, it is you who initiate a conversation as your spouse is not bothered to interact with you. Whenever you talk with your spouse, he or she never bothers to react. Your spouse never even puts on a pretense of listening to you. Your spouse looks everywhere except at you when you're interacting with him or her. You feel trapped in a loveless relationship when your spouse does not interact with you. It is as though you're married to a stranger, isn't it? As your contribution towards dealing with your one-sided relationship, interact with your spouse with friendliness. Do not always bring in family issues into your topic as it makes the interaction heated up. Living through a one-sided relationship is not an easy joke. Marriage is always about sharing emotions, responsibilities, and love. When your spouse withdraws away as if he or she has nothing to do with it, everything about your marriage becomes meaningless and lifeless. Did this video make you understand the agony of one-sided relationship? Marriage Realities will have many such relationship eye-openers. Subscribe to my channel to understand your marriage in a new light. Press the bell icon for updates about my latest relationship videos. Make love forever and to death do us part your relationship goal.